Hello, everybody. We're back with another battle, Marvel battle. All right, so this is She-Venom versus She-Carnage. Yeah. So I decided to, go back to what I originally wanted to draw in the first place. Battles between superheroes, supervillains, etc. The crossover stuff. I mean, this is just Marvel versus Marvel, but yeah. I want to draw, a little bit more complicated poses. Yeah, so definitely let me know down below if you want to see more fan art like this, more battles. Smash that like button and post requests down below for any specific characters, superheroes, supervillains you want to see fighting. They don't even have to be comic book, characters. Maybe you want to see like anime characters or video game characters fight each other, you know? I mean, or movie characters. Well, I mean, something like RoboCop. RoboCop has been in comic books and video games, but technically he is in the movies first, I think. So yeah, something like that. Something cool, I guess. Superhero-ish. Robots count, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, if you want to see more battles like this, same universe, multiverse, crossovers, etc. No problem. Make your requests and I'll get to it as soon as possible. So yeah, I definitely had some trouble with the anatomy and the logo for this one. Mostly because it's not very consistent if you compare the left arm and the right arm, or the top arm and the bottom arm. I would say the bottom arm is a lot more. Well, the wrist and the forearm is bigger. Actually, the wrist is probably the same. The forearm is huger. The muscles on the sides. And then it actually has, the separation of shoulder and bicep where you can see it. But in the top arm, you can't see it now, but, you can't really see the bicep. I definitely messed up the anatomy on the top arm for She-Venom. She-Carnage actually turned out pretty good. Maybe not the chest area, but I would say both of them. The chest area is not so great. Yeah, so so the reference image is I don't even know if it's comic book panel or just somebody's really professional fan art or it's a promotional art, but yeah, it's originally Venom versus Carnage on top of a scaffolding of a building being constructed, kind of similar to that scene, I want to say Spider-Man 3 with Venom versus uh it was no Venom and Sandman versus Spider-Man and Green Goblin, Hobgoblin, Harry Goblin. Yeah, they're fighting in the building, scaffolding. Yeah, so I did decide to add in the gums because, Venom does have gums, and I decided it would look a little bit better. Yeah. So definitely like you want to see Venom versus Carnage in the Venom 2 movie, right? That's what they're planning, right? Let there be carnage. Yeah, I added in the saliva. Nice, right? I like to think so. I wasn't planning on it, but then last minute, So I mean, you don't always have to follow completely the sketches. You can add some details. When you're doing the line art, make some changes. Like I made thick, protruding neck veins. I think those are veins, right? It's not your bones. It's not the same as the collarbone, but I've noticed some people it's really thick. At least when you draw them. Maybe in real life it's not that thick. Yeah. So definitely, let me know, you know, besides what you want to see me draw, like what do you want to see in, the upcoming Venom 2 movie? Let There Be Carnage. Is that the official name? I think so. Yeah. I mean, that has to happen, right? Venom versus Carnage. Do you think they're gonna fight right away, or it's gonna be like near the end. Because so if you don't know the lore, Venom, well, Venom was the alien symbiote that bonded to Spider-Man, Peter Parker, and then he eventually, rejected it, and the Venom symbiote bonded with Eddie Brock, who hated Spider-Man. Yeah. Now, and then so Carnage, I'm not entirely sure how it works. I never actually read up that much about it. Carnage is like the child of Venom symbiote, and yeah, it bonded with Cassidy. Yeah, you see that I kind of messed up the logo there, comparing to the left and right side is completely different angles, but yeah. So yeah, Cletus Cassidy. Um, but in the comics, there is actually a She-Venom. It was Anne Weying. I might have mentioned that in the previous video or not. She was actually Eddie Brock's wife. And she is in the Venom movie, right? They were dating and then they broke up, but then they might get back together again. Is she gonna be in the second movie? She was She-Venom for like a couple of minutes. So yeah, that's canon. Yeah. I'm pretty sure her name was Anne too. Maybe I don't know about the last name. Yeah, I did mess around with the spikes, tentacles, or whatever those things are, the extension sharp bits coming out of Carnage. And that was the design I went with. I have a feeling the head is way too big compared to the rest of the body. Maybe I should have made it smaller. But I do tend to draw big heads. Actually, I tend to draw inconsistent heads. They are always either too big or too small. I usually change them, but for this one, I left them as they are. And I changed a little bit of those tentacles to make them a little bit more squiggly. Yeah, so when they actually do the Carnage symbiote in the movies, how do you think it's gonna be? Like super detailed with all these, spikes, protrusions, and tentacles, flaps and everything constantly coming out of his body? Do you think they'll have She-Carnage? From what I read in the comics, the Carnage symbiote um, did control a woman at some point, but it was very temporary. I know in uh, I think it was no, not Spectacular Spider-Man, the Ultimate Spider-Man, where the Carnage symbiote actually controls Mary Jane Watson, and she becomes the Carnage Queen. But later on, she becomes Spider-Woman. Yeah, I mean they can make their own. They don't always have to follow everything. You know, they can have changes. Yeah, yeah. Speaking of changes, at first you saw it was a blue background. I wanted to try to go with the sky, and then I decided, you know what? I can't draw no scaffolding, so I just changed it to a generic New York City alleyway, like I did in the previous uh, battles that I had. With Captain America versus Soldier Boy and Quicksilver versus Kick-Ass. So definitely for my battles, I'm probably just gonna go with a generic alleyway forever until I figure out how to draw the backgrounds, for battles. I mean, even yeah, a long time ago I drew Spider-Man versus Rhino. Same thing. It was in an alleyway. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty convenient that most of Marvel takes place in New York City. So you can always just draw alleyways. And I'm sure other cities have alleyways too. Yeah. I mean, to critique my own art, I probably should have had, different line art, line weights, different shadow thickness because, you know, She-Venom is much closer to us in the camera angle, and She-Carnage is significantly further away. So like the line art, the shadows, etc. should be much bigger on She-Venom and much smaller on She-Carnage. But of course, I mostly drew them the same. Well, She-Venom, the shadows, some of it is thicker, but most of it is still relatively the same. But the line art is just completely the same on both. But I guess the shadow kind of extends the line art anyway. Yeah. So let me know. You know, what do you think about this? Actually, She-Carnage looks really ripped. That's cool. Because the shadow actually helps a lot when they're zoomed out. When they're zoomed in, it's not as noticeable because everything is so big. Yeah. But definitely let me know if you want to see more art like this. All right. Thank you for watching. Until next time. Bye bye.